The internet used to be the Wild West. You could be anyone, do anything. It was a beautiful, chaotic mess, but now governments around the world are trying to clean it up. They're rolling out massive new laws like the UK's Online Safety Act. And they're not alone. Australia, the European Union, even states in the United States like Louisiana and Utah are all jumping on this bandwagon. They're saying, we need to make the internet safe. And on the surface, who can argue with that? It sounds great, like free guac at Chipotle. But when you look closer, you realize that guac is going to cost you. And it's going to cost you your privacy. These laws all have one thing in common. They're targeting adult content. And to do that, they need to know how old you are. Every single time you go online, think about that. To access huge chunks of the web, you'll need to prove you're an adult. This isn't like the old days of just clicking a button that says, yes, I am over 18. No. That's not good enough anymore. They want cold, hard proof. We're talking government-issued ID, a driver's license, a passport. Suddenly, browsing the internet feels less like exploring and more like trying to get past a very strict bouncer at the world's biggest, weirdest nightclub. So, how does this work in practice? The UK's law forces platforms to use robust age verification. And what's more robust than your official documents? Every time a government wants to pass a law that chips away at your rights, they pull out the ultimate trump card. They say it's to protect the children. And it's brilliant because who's going to argue against that? Are you pro-danger for kids? No? Then you must support this. But let's be real. This argument is often a Trojan horse. It's a way to get sweeping surveillance powers across the finish line with very little pushback. The goal might start with protecting kids from adult websites, but the infrastructure it creates can be used for so much more. It's a classic bait and switch. Think about the system being built. To verify your age, you have to upload a copy of your ID, maybe even a live selfie to prove it's you. This creates a permanent, verifiable link between your government identity and your online browsing history. Every click, every search, every video you watch could now be tied directly back to you, John or Jane Doe. Supporters will tell you this is just about safety. But what happens when the definition of harmful content changes? Today it's pornography. Tomorrow it could be political dissent. It could be information about reproductive rights. It could be satire that criticizes the government. The problem is, these laws don't just stop at the obvious stuff. The UK's Online Safety Act is notoriously vague. It talks about protecting kids from legal but harmful content. But who decides what's harmful? This creates a massive grey area that encourages platforms to over-censor. To be safe, they'll just block anything that could possibly be considered controversial. This isn't just protecting children, it's infantilizing the entire adult population. We're being treated like we can't be trusted to decide for ourselves what we want to see online. And let's be clear, this isn't even a guaranteed way to protect kids. Determined teenagers have been getting around age gates for decades. They'll figure it out. Meanwhile, the rest of us, the adults, are the ones who will pay the price. We're building a massive, invasive surveillance machine for a problem that it might not even solve effectively. So, who's actually looking at your driver's license when you upload it to watch a video? Is it the website itself? Oh, you sweet summer child. No, most websites don't want the legal nightmare of storing that kind of data, so they outsource it. They hire third-party age verification companies. These are private businesses whose entire model is to collect, process, and store the most sensitive data of millions of people. You're not just trusting the website. You're trusting some company you've never even heard of. A company that is now a prime target for hackers. Think about it. These third-party companies are building enormous databases. We're talking names, dates of birth, photos, government ID numbers, and a log of which websites you visited that required verification. This is a treasure trove. It's a one-stop shop for identity thieves. We see massive data breaches from giant corporations like Equifax and T-Mobile all the time. Companies with huge security budgets. Now we're supposed to trust a bunch of startups we've never heard of like VeryAge or IDU Sure to keep our digital identity safe. It's not a question of if these databases will be breached, but when. And it's not just hackers you have to worry about. What are the privacy policies of these companies? They now have data that links your real name to your online habits. That is incredibly valuable information for advertisers, data brokers, and insurance companies. They could sell it. They could use it to build incredibly detailed profiles on you. Imagine getting denied a job or a loan because a background check revealed you visited websites that a risk algorithm flagged as deviant or unstable. This isn't science fiction. This is the predictable outcome of creating centralized digital identity systems. The whole system creates a new massive point of failure for our personal security. We're being forced to hand over the keys to our digital kingdom just to access legal content. And for what? A false sense of security. Privacy advocates are screaming from the rooftops about this. The Open Rights Group in the United Kingdom has called these mandates a disaster for privacy and free speech. They argue correctly that forcing users to identify themselves to access information is a hallmark of authoritarian regimes, not democratic ones. We are sleepwalking into a world where our data is just another commodity in a vending machine. Once you know you're being watched, you start acting differently. It's just, a psychological fact. It's called the chilling effect. When you realize that your real name is attached to every site you visit, you'll think twice. You'll hesitate. You'll self-censor. Maybe you were curious about a controversial political ideology. Maybe you're a teenager, questioning your sexuality and just looking for information. Or maybe you're a journalist, investigating a sensitive topic. In the old anonymous internet, you could explore these things safely. But in the new age-gated internet, that curiosity comes with a risk. This system, honestly, it effectively ends online anonymity. Anonymity isn't just for trolls and criminals. It's actually a vital tool for vulnerable people. It protects whistleblowers exposing corruption. It allows human rights activists in oppressive countries to organize and share information without fear of reprisal. It gives victims of domestic abuse a way to seek help without their abuser knowing. By forcing everyone to tie their online activity to their real-world identity, we're really pulling the rug out from under all of these people. We're making the internet a much more dangerous place for the very people who need its protection the most. And let's talk about censorship for a second. Once a government has the power to decide what content needs an age gate, it's only a very short step to deciding what content gets banned entirely. The definition of harmful is subjective, and it can be weaponized. A government could use these laws to suppress dissent, block access to news outlets that are critical of them, or censor art and literature they deem inappropriate. The infrastructure of age verification is also like an infrastructure of censorship. It gives governments a kill switch for any content they don't like, all under the guise of online safety. This is why we're seeing a huge spike in people turning to privacy tools. VPNs, or virtual private networks, are becoming mainstream. People are using them to encrypt their traffic and hide their location, specifically to bypass these invasive age checks. It's basically a digital arms race. The government builds a wall and citizens find a way to tunnel under it. But honestly, the average person shouldn't have to become a cybersecurity expert just to browse the web with a basic expectation of privacy. So here we are, kind of at a crossroads for the internet. On one side, we have governments promising a safer, cleaner web, sanitized for our protection. On the other, we have the reality of what that promise actually entails, a system of mass surveillance that requires us to present our digital papers at every turn. We're being asked to make a trade, give up your privacy, your anonymity, and in return we will give you safety. But honestly, this is a false choice, a loaded deal from a government that just wants more control. It's kind of like a mob boss telling you, "Nice little internet you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it." The real danger is that we're not actually getting the safety we were promised. As we've seen, motivated kids will still find ways around these blocks. The black markets for fake IDs are just going to boom in the digital world. Meanwhile, the data of millions of innocent adults will be sitting in vulnerable databases, basically waiting to be stolen by hackers or exploited by corporations. We're creating a massive new security risk in the name of security. It's a paradox. We're building a system that makes everyone less secure in order to protect a few people from content they could probably find elsewhere anyway. This isn't just about what you look at online. It's about the kind of society we want to live in. Do we want a society where our every move is tracked, logged, and tied to our government name? where curiosity is punished and conformity is rewarded, where the powerful can easily monitor and control the flow of information? Or do we want a society that values freedom of thought, privacy, and the right to explore the world of ideas without someone looking over your shoulder? The internet was one of the last frontiers for that kind of freedom, and we're just letting them pave it over. In the end, we have to ask the hard question. This grand bargain, this trade of privacy for safety, is it even working? Or are we just giving up our privacy, creating new security threats, and enabling a future of censorship and surveillance without actually gaining any meaningful safety in return? We're being told we have to choose between two fundamental values. But what if the real outcome is that we end up with neither? What if we're just, sleepwalking into a future where we've lost both our privacy and our safety?